In terms of, thank you very much, Kasibante. In terms of space exploration and everything, so for Africa to leapfrog into the kind of capacity that we need and that we really desire in terms of space and economy, generally everything, we have to work together. So I'm sure you guys already know the adage. If you want to go fast, probably walk alone. But if you want to go very far, then you have to work together. So that's what we do here in Space Ops Africa. We provide a platform where people get to know more about space. So we've been holding series of webinars for careers in the space industry, not just for space law. And we've hosted really amazing space professionals in the African space industry. We've had engineers, we've had policymakers, really, really nice career webinars on space. So you could recommend us for any of your friends that are not law students or not legally inclined, but might be interested in space. We have really amazing programs for them to hop in and get to learn a lot. So these are going to be our first space law related event, and it's been led by the Federation of African Law Students that proposed the initiative. And we are also collaborating with the International Law Students Association, UNISIC chapter. I'm very, very proud of those two collaborators that we have. They've put in amazing work for today, like to be a Frisian. I'm really, really proud, and I'm really grateful too that we are the host. So um, we'll start by 10:10. I'm already giving my welcome address from Space Ops Africa already. So, like I said, I'm giving a background to what we do here in Space Ops Africa, just in case you want to know more. I'll be sending in links. We provide a platform for people to get involved in space, and we also give them the tools and the resources they need to learn about space technology and to connect and collaborate locally and online. So we have an online space community. I'm going to send a link here in case, and I will really encourage everybody to join. And you get to learn a lot. We have really amazing materials. Even if you don't know anything about space, like zero knowledge about space, when you join our community sources and materials you need, because space is the future, like it's the future. So on behalf of Quick Osuma, the founder of Space Ops Africa, it is my pleasure and delight to welcome all of you to this career webinar on space law for African law students. So that's a little bit of background from my end. I don't know if the representative for FALAS and International Law Student Association in UNIZEC, if you are ready, please kindly indicate so we could make you panelists and so you could, give your opening remarks. Okay, while we wait for that, just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I've already introduced myself. My name is Nelly Ibruka, and I'm a lawyer and an advocate in the African space sector. Mostly what I do is I promote space awareness for young people and young professionals in the industry. I'm the national point of contact for the Space Generation Advisory Council in Nigeria, and I'm the West Africa Regional Coordinator for the Moon Village Association. I've been involved in space for a while, and it has honestly opened my eyes to a lot of things, and I've learned so much, and I've met a lot of wonderful people. So in 2020, I was actually awarded top 10 under 30 young Africans contributing to the growth of the African space sector. And notably, most of you may know me. I'm a reputable alumni of the Manfred Lacks Space Law Competition. In 2019, we won the African rounds of Manfred Lacks, and we went on to become the runner-ups for the World Finals in the United States of America at NASA headquarters. So that's why we are going to be talking a lot about Manfred Lacks here, because it was one of the ways that I really got involved in space. And also my amazing friend and brother from Uganda will be sharing his story. David Kasibante, you would really love to listen to him. I also met him at South Africa 2 years ago during the Manfred Lacks competition. So I'm very sure you guys are going to learn a lot. So if Falas is ready, I would like them to give their welcome address. Thank you very much. I think that will be over to Moedet.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Moidet, and I'm the Falas International Director of Policies, Programs, and Projects. And I'm very much excited and glad to be taking the address on behalf of the Federation of African Law Students. So first, I bring in fraternity greetings from the Federation of African Law Students. We're very much proud and pleased to collaborate with the International Law Student University of Nnamdi Azikiwe University of to bring about this space. It's our core mandate in Falas to help them thrive in the labor market. And of course, today's webinar is one of those many things that we have been doing to support our members and prepare them for the labor market and prepare them for tomorrow. And so we're very grateful to Space Hub Africa for, of course, this has been in plans, and of course, we're thankful to Nelly for being the point of contact. And she has been very incredible, and she has been supportive, and of course, at the same time, very troublesome. And we are very much excited that today is actually a reality. We are excited that as our members will take up this, that they'll take up the needed information, of course, to ensure that space awareness and space exploration succeeds in their various countries. And we are very much excited and always pleased to serve our members and provide them with such enriching programs like this. And of course, we celebrate and thank Space Hub Africa for the very incredible jobs they have been doing in the past. And we look forward to greater things and of course, greater partnerships that will be beneficial to our members and of course, that will help Africa reclaim its pride in space and of course, push our members out there. So Nelly, thank you very much once again. And Falas is very grateful and pleased to have partnered and of course, to be part of this program. Thank you very much, Space Hub Africa. And of course, we wish each and everyone a great time in today's webinar. Thank you, Nelly.
Thank you very much, Mo. That was a wonderful address, except for the part where you called me troublesome. Well, thank you so much. So we are going to take an address from the National Law Students Association, University, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, where it seems.
You may give your address, please.
So, yes, we're excited to partner with Falas and Space Hub Africa's growth program. We also appreciate speakers who provide participants and let speakers from the topic. So, Space Hub is an emerging trend of law with great opportunities for law students and lawyers. The Space Hub broken down in this webinar, and I'm happy to treat my Space Hub for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Ume, for that address. Although we really couldn't hear you loud and clear, but I'm really glad that you guys.
Hello, my name is David Kasibante Tandakoshle Uptulamandla. I am a lawyer, a space lawyer based in Uganda, and let me see. Ume is still, I'm still hearing some feedback from Ume. Let me first mute her.
Yeah, I think you should mute her.
So I have muted her. Thank you. So first off, welcome all of you to this session. I'm very honored to be part of it. I have known every single person in this room, at least most of y'all. Through my different shenanigans in space. I think I met Nelly Helen in 2019, was it? That's 2019. Yeah. Yes, at the Manfred Lux in South Africa. And I had been part of the Manfred Lux since 2017. That's when I'd first been part of that, both as a competitor and as a faculty advisor. I've engaged with Manfred Lux for the longest time. I think if Ms. Majaja was here, she would really attest to that very much. So for me, that's a very good thing. Oh, she is here. Oh, yeah. I hadn't seen her. Mama Majaja, we're very happy to see you. I think I'll even make her a panelist right now. So I've had the rare privilege to really interact a lot with space law and the space industry in Africa. Currently, I am studying for my master's at the Leiden University in air and space law, and I'm also doing some other kind of space work, mostly in space policy and space entrepreneurship. I'm venturing a bit into space entrepreneurship. I'm very adventurous like that. So I was asked today to just basically talk about this whole phenomenon called space. I believe some of you might have come here and you're asking yourself, what exactly is space law? Why is it even a thing? Oh, some of you might have come here because of peer pressure. Some friend of yours might have been like, better attend. If you don't, it's gonna be hard on you. So you might have come here because of peer pressure. Or you might have, it could have been other reason. But I just wanted to make a couple of things clearer for you so that we can move on the same page from here now. So I'm going to answer 3 very pertinent questions in the time that I've been given. The first question is, what? The second question is why? The third question is how? I believe that once we have these 3 laid down parts, we'll have a very, very great discussion today. So the first question is what? What is space law? What exactly is space law? Why is it, what exactly is it, encompassed in? If someone said, I'm a space lawyer, what do they mean? Is it that they work in a big office space? Is it that, they walk around, like matter, occupying space and having weight? What exactly is space law, So the first thing that you need to understand is that everything, everywhere man has gone, a law has been responsible for ensuring that the man stays there. And that's a very key thing to understand. Everywhere that man has gone, there has been a law that ensured that man stays there and that man doesn't kill himself. We know that men and human beings are generally very rambunctious creatures, and we're prone to basically disrupt wherever we go. So the thing is, when men decided to venture into space in 1967 with the Sputnik 1 by Russia, 1957, there was a need to govern what exactly they were going to do in space and what they were doing there. And when I'm talking about space, I'm talking about 100 kilometers straight vertical. If you went straight up about 100 kilometers from sea level, that's if you are coming from a sea and not from the top of a mountain, because now that would be a bit awkward. But if you're coming from the bottom, from sea level, and you went straight up, you'd hit a certain place where in law we call the common line, and that place is the beginning of space, is presumed to be the beginning of space. Okay, some countries recognize a lower common line, others recognize that common line, but it's generally the same. It's generally around that same area, You might have heard of Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson, who, decided to venture out and fly into space. And so once you go above a certain limit, you enter what we call space. And now that area is pretty much what this law is all about. It's all about governing what happens in that area and beyond that area. So that's what space law basically is all about. Space law is a branch of international law. If you're a student of law, you might have known that, we have all these laws, and international law is one of them. So space law is basically a branch of international law that basically deals with this activities of states and individuals and entities in outer space and other celestial bodies. Celestial bodies include the moon, asteroids, the sun itself, a star, I don't know, Mars. If you can name all the 9 planets, that would be good. The 8, if you don't count Pluto, that would be a great thing for you. So that's basically space. And it doesn't just even govern only that, it also governs things like remote sensing, things like radio networks. If you to think of some of you who listen to internet radio, basically that's now space, basically. That's the whole thing. GPRS, some of you, your phones have GPRS, Google Maps thing, that's space for you. Google Earth, that's space for you. All those different applications that help us from above, weather forecasting and all those things. The laws that govern all those things is basically what we call space law. So now that we've known that what space law is, and maybe just to throw in a bit of legal jargon, just to appear cool. So there are about 5 major treaties that govern space law. I'll just throw in this one, just for the sake of it. For those of you who may want to read further, the main treaty is called the Outer Space Treaty, and then we have other treaties, the Moon Agreement. We have the Moon Agreement has been looked at a bit like a failed treaty, but it's still standing. It hasn't gone, so yeah, it can still be called a treaty. We have the Liability Convention. We have the Return and Rescue of Astronauts, and then we have the Registration Convention. Those are the main treaties, but then there are many others basically that talk about space. There are many other bits of treaties and soft laws, what we call soft laws, guidelines, and debris mitigation, etc. That I won't bother you with that gobbledygook. You may be like, the man is over talking about things that are rough. So then, why is it important? Why is space law important? Well, why bother? You know, why is it exactly important? So the why is simple, because it's inevitable. It's inevitable for us to get to space. It's very inevitable for us. Once we started going to space, it became impossible for us to leave. Humanity is a very adventurous and explorative species. We like to go out. We like to see worlds unknown. We like to see so much outside there. And because of that, it becomes inevitable that we are not really going to leave space. Elon Musk has promised to put human beings on Mars by 2030. And by the looks of it, he really might pull it off, you know. And because now space is such an integral part of our lives, we can't ignore it. There is nothing we can do to ignore it, you know. So it's such an integral part of our lives. So because of that, it's important. Now, the other question would be, why in Africa? Why do we have this whole space hubs thing? Why do we have this whole movement coming up with space things? You want to just confuse us? No. Currently, there are 43 satellites that have been launched by African states to outer space. Now, that may blow your mind, but yes, 43 of them and counting, you know, and these satellites have done so much for the continent so far, and they're still doing a lot. We're looking at things like remote sensing. We're looking at things like some of you who watch internet, whatever, DSTV. We're looking at things like GPRS. We're looking at things like GLONASS. You know, you didn't know about that too? It exists. Global navigation systems, they exist. And the thing is, we can't stand back and just be a spectator in the whole race for space that other states have carried out. For perspective, there are over 2,000 satellites in outer space and counting. And of those 2,000, I've not added Elon Musk's Starlink satellites. So they are quite a number of them. And we really are lagging behind. Actually, when you start to think about it, when you put it in perspective, you realize exactly how far the continent is lagging. And because of that, we want to build a robust system for space policy and space management in Africa. And once we do that, then we're going to have a proper seat at the table, at the elders' table, like it's often said in proverbial terms, you know? So it is very, very interesting when you get to start to think about it. And because we are getting into the space area, we are going to need laws, we are going to need policies, we're going to need guidelines, roadmaps, you know, and because of that, this is why space law is so important. In fact, I always tell my friends that space law is the next holy grail for any student that is very passionate about law at all. It's the next holy grail. You can't miss it, you can't dismiss it. So taking up such a career is very interesting, and it's such an interesting place to be. So this leads me to the third question, the how. So I've spoken about all these glowing things and how space is such an amazing thing, but your question may be, how? How? There are very few universities in Africa that teach space law at a master's level, but that is not exactly, that is not a hindrance. I'll just give some examples. See, I come from Makerere University. That's why that's why I did my my undergrad. Makerere University does not teach space law. It does not. So you may wonder, how did I get all this knowledge and whatever in space? Why is it such a thing? One, it starts with you, with the person. You need to have a passion for it. You need to want it. You need to want it so bad that you'll do anything to get it. But then you don't have to suffer alone. There are steps, there are things that you can do that can get you there. I'll give my personal story. I first interacted with space law in 2017, as I said earlier, more like 2016. But 2017 is when I had my first real, you know, at the Manfred Lux Moot in South Africa. And I remember once I left, I felt like this is the thing that I actually need to do. I did not see myself doing anything else, literally, but just that. I remember calling back later to Miss Lulu Makapela, who then later on turned out to be my mentor in this. And I remember asking her, how do I proceed from now? And she told me, no. Now that you have the zeal, well, let's work on that. And then I started writing things, articles. I wrote quite a lot of things regarding space and basically putting myself out there. And then later on, you see, the thing about putting yourself out there is that you get noticed. Someone is bound to notice. Someone at some point is bound to notice. So later on, someone noticed indeed. And in 2019, I remember, I was invited to the US to make certain presentations. Basically, the whole thing was just meet a delegation of youth from around the world and just talk about your thing, talk about this whole space thing that you love. So I ended up at the Summer Youth Assembly, the 24th Summer Youth Assembly. I don't know if there are people who have been to the assembly before here. Yay, shout outs. So I was there and I basically just talked to these youth at my first talk was at the hotel where we spent the night at the Hyatt Centric Arlington. And from that, someone in the crowd noticed, like, no, but by the way, can't you just talk to some other people about this? I think it would be great. And I found myself addressing the US Department of State on this very same thing, you know. Later on during that entire, it was a 2-week engagement. From there, someone at the Department of State was like, why don't you just address even more people? And just like that, I found myself addressing even more people, more like a public lecture at Columbia University, and then later on at the United Nations headquarters. So the thing is, it started with me just putting myself out there, like just putting myself there, like just come and do your thing, And from there, I started an organization in Uganda called Space for Tomorrow that basically advocates for space and tries to make it known among youth, etc. And through Space for Tomorrow, I then later on joined the Space Generation Advisory Council. I'd been part of the council, but so after that, I started with the council and then later on the Moon Village Association. And that's how I got to where I am. I've not been yet to where I want to be, but I believe that I've come from a long place. And I believe that if anyone can do it, if I can do it, anyone can. It's pretty much that easy. So so what I would like to tell you in my parting remarks is that the future is in space. I always tell everyone, and they always think I'm crazy, but the future is actually in space. It's not anywhere else. It's actually in space. And you're going to be very shocked in the next 10 years when a whole lot of things that you thought were impossible are impossible. For perspective, SpaceX creates a Raptor engine every 48 hours. Every 48 hours, a Raptor engine is manufactured at SpaceX. Raptor engines are those engines that actually take these huge rockets to space. Right now, we do have rockets that can reach, that can take human beings even farther than Mars. So we are on the verge of a revolution in science, technology, and humanity itself. You don't ever want to find yourself outside looking in and saying, God when? Huh? You want to be part of the revolution, don't you? So I'd like to encourage you, and I think my other co-speakers will even make this more clearer, that the future is space and you want to be part of it. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Kasibante. That was amazing. I have even learned a lot, and thank you so much. I don't really want to say God when, like, it's such a sad statement. So here I am listening. Guys, you've heard it from Kasibante. Space is really the future. That was a really lovely presentation. For those of you who joined us quite late, I'm just going to go through Kasibante's profile again. And Kasibante, if you wouldn't mind, please, can you send your email address or LinkedIn connection anywhere so people can reach out to you? Kasibante David is, I'm not going to say his full name, I can't pronounce it. He's a lawyer based in Uganda. He's a space enthusiast and he loves all things computers. He's a retired hacker, most likely because he found out that he really couldn't do it and he wanted to focus on space law. And he's an aspiring space entrepreneur. He has made his mark as the first of his kind in Uganda. Yes, Kasibante is going to be the first Ugandan doing an LLM in the Leiden University, an LLM in airspace law. And he has made the mark in Central Africa as one of the young space leaders we have over there, with a zeal of realizing the space potential of the area. So if you are from Central Africa or from Uganda, please reach out to Kasibante. He leads a team of space enthusiasts and young professionals at a startup known as Space for Tomorrow, and he's working with the Ugandan government and other stakeholders to realize the full potential of youth in space sciences, law, and policy through research and development in the sector. He represents Uganda at the United Nations Space Generation Advisory Council. In his free time, Kasibante looks up to the skies and sees hope and no borders. Oh, how utopian. And he hopes everybody gets to see that. Yes, we are here to spread the gospel of space law. Thank you very much, Kasibante, for that amazing presentation. please, if you have any questions for Kasibante, personal questions, professional questions, how did he get involved? How much has he learned? How can you follow in his footsteps? Don't fail to send your questions in the chat box or send him a private message to his LinkedIn or his email address. But you're free to send in questions now if you have any. So it is my pleasure to announce that our other two guest speakers are here. I'm really honored and humbled that they are in our midst. We have Dr. Samson Osage and we have Miss Feko Majaja, like Kasibante called her Mama Majaja. She's really like the mother of all space law enthusiasts in Africa. She has done so much and she'll be sharing her experience and she'll be sharing her knowledge and everything about Manfred Lax and how you can get involved. So up next, we are going to take a presentation from Dr. Samson. Dr. Samson, I don't know if you're up. I'm just going to read his profile. Then we are going to have him come up. So Dr. Samson, can you hear me clearly? Are you there? Dr. Samson R. Osage is a legal practitioner, governance and development expert. He's also the former minority whip of the House of Representatives in Nigeria and a former executive director at Nigerian Communication Satellite. So he has expertise in strategic business management, business promotion, expansion and exploration, organizational positioning, marketing strategies, and business intelligence. So yes, you might wonder why this sounds so business, but it is necessary because space is business. A lot has changed since 1960. And right now we have lawyers engaging in the space sector, not more as in terms of the treaties and space governance, but more like in their expertise in the business sector of space. And that's why we're having Dr. Samson speak with us today. I'm very happy that he's here. So if you can hear and you can unmute yourself, you have the floor.
Yes, I say thank you everyone for this opportunity, particularly Nelly for successfully dragging me out this cool Saturday morning. It's quite early and Saturday used to be my rest day. So thank you so much. Let me thank David Kasibante from Uganda, a space enthusiast, for that very eloquent delivery. Let me start on the note that I will not call myself a space lawyer. The reason being that I did not study space law, but I became associated with space-based activities by virtue of an appointment I got as executive director in charge of marketing and business development at the Nigerian Communication Satellite Limited in 2017, a position I held for 2.5 years. But quite frankly, I was amazed at the very extensive and vast opportunities I saw within the space of 2.5 years. It took me across the continents of the world and to see an aspect of technology and commercial life that not many people understand, but which many advanced countries have since skilled into and is contributing to their gross domestic product and income in no small measure. I want to say that I agree totally that space law is the next destination for all professionals across the globe, particularly with respect to technology advancement and technology development. And since laws are made to guide individual, human, and corporate actions, the development of the space industry across the globe, particularly in Africa, where the awareness is still very low and the investment in space technology is still at an all-time low ebb, it's very important that those who are getting involved in space legislations and space law studies now take it very seriously, because that is the next destination. Because space law is governed by laws, by treaties, by regulations, by principles, which forms the basic fundamentals upon which the space industry is based. And I would like to say that, going straight to the point, what opportunities are there? Let me start on the note by making a small attempt as a teacher to talk about the fact that the space law is the body of law governing space-related activities. And it's made up of international agreements, treaties, conventions, of course, United Nations General Assembly resolutions, as well as rules and regulations of international organizations. It's usually associated with the rules, principles, and standards of international law, which appear, of course, in the 5 international treaties and 5 set of principles. I think these are all familiar areas to you as space law students and, of course, space law practitioners already. In addition to the 5 treaties, which my friend and my brother mentioned, David, we also have many nations who have enacted municipal laws. In other words, local laws guiding the space operations, space technology operations in their country. And it takes them to the parliament to seek for the legislative imprimatur in making those laws possible. And those laws eventually will also lead to the passage of subsidiary legislations by the agencies of government charged with space regulations. For example, in Nigeria, we have the NCC, the National Communications Commission, that have set out guidelines for commercial satellite communications. We have the NASA, which deals with the Space Research Agency. You know, they also have subsidiary powers, legislations that guide the launching of certain satellite borders on a remote sensing for agricultural purpose, low Earth orbits, and so on and so forth. And of course, the Nigeria Communication Satellite Limited, which is indigenous to us in Nigeria, is a company incorporated for purposes of carrying out commercial satellite communication services on all the bands, the KA band, the KU band, the C band, and the L band, which deals with navigation. I heard my brother mentioned the L band and the issue of navigation. So even though Nigeria is yet to fully develop its potentials in space technology, but the good news is that in Africa, Nigeria in 2006 blazed the trail in this regard. So Nigeria has a set of rules, a set of regulations guiding space law. So if this is the case, then it therefore means that the space industry in a place like Nigeria, and indeed in Africa, will require the services of professional lawyers. I recall vividly when I took over office at the Nigeria Communication Satellite, I recall vividly that the company had sent the former company secretary of that company, to Canada to go and study and have a postgraduate, a PhD in space law, to be able to come back as a real professional in that area and use her wealth of experience to guide and promote the company. So it's very important that we have lawyers who are trained in this industry as we continue to develop in the sector. So we have these laws that are meant to provide deliberate policies towards facilitating provisioning of space-based communication technology services. And it is developed in order to promote and facilitate investment and entering into the Nigerian market and, of course, the African market for the provision of communication services. Now, what are the career prospects for lawyers? Let me just go straight to the point. Well, because the industry is also guided by laws, the treaties that are made at the international level, where nations are signatories to, are drafted by lawyers. So the first assignment for lawyers is that they have opportunities of working for international organizations where bilateral and multilateral agreements treaties are reached and signed to by countries, by member countries. So space lawyers have the opportunity of working with international organizations to draft international treaties and agreements among parties. Aside that, we have also said that even countries have their municipal laws that regulates the guiding, that regulates the space laws, communication, space technology activities. For example, I made mention of the guidelines for satellite communication services in Nigeria. So the legislature is therefore an important organ of government that must of necessity participate in the process of entrenching the space law practice and technology in the country. So the lawyers who are versed in space law will have the opportunity to also work with the legislature in drafting and passing legislations that are supposed to regulate space business within the country. This includes both municipal laws and even in the case of domesticating treaties. You know, for example, under the Nigerian law, section 12 of the Constitution, every treaty that is entered into by the country at the international level has to be domesticated by way of passage into law by the Nigerian parliament before that law can be binding and regarded as force of law within the Nigerian state. And you cannot enforce such laws within the Nigerian state unless such treaties are domesticated. So you need lawyers in this regard to assist the parliament in going through the process of domesticating these treaties in line with section 12 of the Constitution for the purpose of regulating space-based activities. Lawyers who are versed in space law can serve as legal advisors to government departments, agencies of government that are charged with the management of with respect to multilateral and bilateral agreements on space matters. Because even among companies, private individuals, they require lawyers who will assist them to ensure compliance with regulations. Lawyers can also assist government organizations in negotiating domestic and international agreements on space-based activities. Negotiation is an important tool of commercial transactions, and negotiations must of necessity have some legal content. A negotiator must have a vast experience in the law of negotiation and in the law on the subject matter to be able to get good deal for their respective clients or their respective employees. So lawyers are required to conduct negotiations for organizations, even for countries and for companies. So the services are required in that regard. Space lawyers can also help government entities and even private individuals, private companies engaging in space exploration to comply with existing laws, treaties, agreements, and other regulations. Now, I made mention of the fact that in Nigeria today, there are guidelines set out for participating in providing satellite-based communication services. So if a company is coming into Nigeria, like most of these multinational companies, Intelsat, Eutelsat, Jaclick, all these are satellite communications companies that now have beams over Nigeria for providing satellite communication services. So before any new company can come into Nigeria for purposes of investing in satellite-based communications services, it must comply with certain basic requirements, which have been set out by NCC. And so private legal practitioners can be of huge and immense assistance in guiding such companies before they can eventually succeed in participating in the space-based activities in the country. Because of the nature of space law, space lawyers engage in a great deal of policy making, and they might spend the bulk of their time drafting proposals and advocating for certain policies. So space lawyers must also understand enough science and to be able to give their clients educated services and advice. So what this means is that the nature of space laws being an area of law that is yet to be fully developed into a curriculum by most universities. I can tell that even in Nigeria today, except for University of Calabar, I hope I'm right, Nelly, University of Calabar. Hello.
Yeah, we don't do space law.
Oh, I even thought that you offer space law. Now,
no.
So I thought University of Calabar even have it as one of the few. What do they call it now? optional courses, but it is not part of the curriculum in our Nigerian university system yet. But I saw it on the curriculum of the National Open University for students. They are optional courses, and not many people take to it because it looks strange to them. And even overseas, in the US, for instance, not many countries have it at their postgraduate levels, at their undergraduate levels, except maybe one university in Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska, in the US. It is mostly done at postgraduate levels. So the implication of that is that space lawyers must of necessity acquaint themselves with the science of space technology. When I assumed duty as executive director at the Nigerian Communication Satellite, I have to take out the engineers, on every weekend to my office, to my private chambers, to educate me on the basic nuances of satellite communications, because I needed to understand the basic tenets, how a satellite communication works, for me to be able to market the product and services. And I even had to go to Harvard University, to have a strategic business management course with some emphasis on technology generally, including space technology. So lawyers must of necessity also acquaint themselves with enough scientific knowledge about the workings of space technology generally for them to be able to apply the laws, apply the principles, apply the various regulations, and be able to advise candidly and efficiently on space technology for their clients or for their employees. And space lawyers who are versed in international arbitration and other ADRO mechanisms must also assist their client in settlement of disputes. I was going through a long line of cases. This space technology team since the 50s, that the technology started evolving. There have also been commercial disputes, either between countries or between a country and individual companies, on some commercial issues arising either from the treaty they have signed or from the agreements they have reached for the provision of this settlement. So it is also important that space lawyers avail themselves with enough knowledge of the alternative dispute resolution mechanism, because it is usually the fastest way of resolving international commercial disputes, so that when they do represent their companies or their countries, they are in a position to assist in resolving such crises. I do not think that commercial transactions involving space technology should be one that must be subject to the regular court proceedings because of the issues of undue delay and so on and so forth. So those space lawyers with interest in space law can serve in a variety of capacities within government and private organizations, as in-house legal advisors and company secretaries, as policy advisors, as program development experts, even as marketing and business development experts. Space lawyers can find various administrative and policy jobs at various international institutions and organizations, such as the United Nations Office on Space Affairs, such as the National Aeronautic Space Agency, for example, the Armed Forces. I mean, it may interest you to know that in Nigeria, we have the Directorate of TSA, the Directorate of Space Administration, within the Nigeria Armed Forces. It is sited close to NASDA and NICOMSAT, in Abuja. It's a very big agency of government that is concentrating on using the space technology as a means of combating internal and external aggression, such as the Nigerian Communication Satellite, which is a regulatory agency in Nigeria, NCC, the China National Satellite Company, and so on and so on. Such international organizations, private companies involved in satellite communication services are so many. Eutelsat, Yaklik, Intelsat. There are so many across the globe. So space lawyers can always find a space, jobs in all these organizations. Space lawyers may decide to venture into private legal practice, where they have to work closely with their clients, the courts, and of course, the legal professionals. They can also consult to write new laws, research the impact of existing laws, and argue cases in court on behalf of their client or cases at arbitration. In private practice, they meet with clients who are usually and typically companies and national space agencies to discuss cases and offer advice. The study current laws and research part of judgment, prepared written and verbal arguments. They negotiate contracts and ensure proper execution of same for their clients. So these are a few of the opportunities that lies ahead for those who choose to go the way of space technology and space by studying space law. As my colleague said, David, it is a destination that we must look up to, because let's say this: countries who pride themselves as very rich in oil and natural resources will soon find, as from 2040, that when the need for oil services, oil resources become less and less, because the world is already going fully technological, with the gradual phasing out, for instance, of fossil fuel. We're going to be having electric vehicles. All these are technologies that will require a lot of major space technological input. And with the navigation system that may take over the world, in fact, like Lenny said, we are here because of space technology. So we look up to a decade or two for space technology to fully unveil. And legal practitioners or law students who are from now futuristic in their thinking and are forward-looking may wish to avail themselves with enormous knowledge by personally developing themselves through study and conferences such as what we are doing to prepare themselves for that future revolution that is coming. And it will be another emerging sector for legal practitioners generally. For me, activities such as this is my second time of participating in space-related webinar. And I'm also doing it in order to also continue to get myself prepared for that time. And I believe that when time permits, one will not fail to take further studies in space law and space technology. I want to thank you for this opportunity to present these little thoughts of mine and contributions to the discussions today. Nelly, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, sir. It's our pleasure, really. It is ours. Thank you for that amazing industry insights that we will hardly get anywhere. So Kasibati gave us a background and an overview, made us all excited, and you showed us reality of what it's like to really be a lawyer and work with the engineers and the scientists. And thank you very much, sir. I'm sure all the attendees are really grateful and they have learned a lot, just like I have. That was really insightful and eye-opening. Thank you, sir. We hope to hear more from you again in this industry, because so many young people like me out there interested in space, but it's a harsh environment. But like, there's so much problems on Earth. There's poverty, insecurity, and you're talking about space. It's almost like space is not for us here in Africa. But taking a cue from industry experts like you, it's really encouraging. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much.
I sincerely appreciate the
opportunity.
opportunity.
Sir. All right, sir. Okay, we'll be taking our final presentation from Mrs. Majaja. And I think she has a presentation, some slides. So we'll just take a while to set that up. But Ms. Majaja, I don't know if you can unmute your mic so we know you're live and you're here with us.
Good morning, Nelly. Good morning, everyone. Dr. Samson, everybody that is participating here today.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. I'm just going to read Ms. Majaja's profile, and then we'll try to share her slides. Ms. Majaja started her career as a government official and then proceeded into academia, both lecturing and management for 10 years, and then back into the government for the past 14 years. She has a bachelor's degree in economics, industrial psychology, and an honors from UNISA and a master's degree in Development Economics from the University of Williams College in Massachusetts in the United States. And she has obtained and attended various short courses in the space arena from the International Space University, the University of Cape Town, and the University of Pretoria. She has been exposed and has led strategic development and implementation in various advanced manufacturing and sectoral grouping. So it's really a pleasure to have her. She's the Chief Director in the Development and Implementation of Space Legislation and Policy Domain for the past 14 years, and serves as the Vice Chairperson of the South African Council for Space Affairs, which is a space regulatory body under the Ministry of Trade and Industry in South Africa. Ms. Majaja has led the South African delegation to the United Nations Committee on the Peaceful Use of Outer Space for a number of years, and she was very instrumental in hosting the first IOT International Astronautical Congress in Africa by the South African government in 2011. So she has a passion for capacity building of the youths, as she's live here with us today, and she has supported various academic program, and the core academic program, which is our point of reference for today, is the African Regional Rounds of the MAFRELAC Space Law Moot Court Competition, which is regarded as a space regulation capacity building program. For me, it's one of the most viable and effective space capacity building program for law students in Africa. And she has been instrumental in the hosting of air and space and telecoms short courses in the University of Pretoria, which has continued for about 6 years. Such an amazing profile, and it's really amazing to have you here with us, Ms. Majaja. So I don't know if you're ready to, go live now. I'll just try to share your slides. If you've sent my email, check my email again.
Good morning, everybody. Whilst Nelly is trying to share my slides, I would like to thank everyone who has managed to be here this morning. All the students, all the professionals, all the speakers. I think it's a very, very important sharing session for our students in Africa. I also want to thank and congratulate David Kasibande Tandogushe for getting his opportunity at Leiden. I remember he has been crying. Thank you very much for that. And I can see you are already an ambassador of space law, and we need to talk about coordination in Uganda. Before I speak, whilst Nelly is trying to put up my slides, I would like to thank all the judges that have made the Africa Region Space Law Moot Court possible, all the previous students who have participated since 2011. I would also like to thank the previous coordinator, Advocate Lulu Makapela. David has already mentioned her as her mentor. And I think it's actually good that we participate in these programs, and I see and I take this Manfred Lachs as a stepping stone at the door of the space law. So I'm glad to talk about it today to motivate other students who have not been part of it. Thank you, Nelly, for organizing this, even though I was not thinking I would make it because of the health issues. Are you able to share the slide now?
It feels like a reunion, Ms. Majaja. Augustine Ishie is here too.
Yes, it's a great reunion. It's a great reunion. I would be happy to know that most countries are represented here today. Is that the case?
Yes, not just. I think we have South Africa, we have Botswana. I really can't recognize the names, but I know we have law students scattered across Africa. Okay, just a moment now.
Okay. Yeah, because we need to expand the footprint of the Manfred Lachs. The countries like Botswana have not participated. But over the years, we've been seeing increasing interest in a number of countries and in a number of teams, especially Nigeria. In Nigeria is always having many teams. Yeah, it's good.
We can't help it.
Actually, Ms. Majaja, Uganda is hosting the next Manfred
Oh,
Lux.
come on.
I really want us to host the next Manfred Lux. Yes,
yeah, we must pray for this pandemic to go away so that we can see Uganda hosting.
Absolutely.
The past 2 years, we have been hosting it online and virtually via memorials. The pandemic has given us a really, yeah, it's terrible times.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you very much, Nelly. Yes, I will, as I've mentioned, I will talk about space law interventions or capacity building for the youth. As Nelly has mentioned, I work for the Department of Trade and Industry in South Africa. I also serve as the coordinator for the Africa region of the Manfred Lux Space Law Court, as well as serving on the South African Council for Space Affairs. We can go to our next slide. Yeah, so on the contents, I would like to give the purpose, but the speakers before me have given much more information pertaining to the importance of space law. So I'll provide some information pertaining to the importance of the Manfred Lux Space Law Moot Court competition and the Africa round and the regional coordination. Yes, Kasibande was very much clear, and Dr. Samson is about why are we worrying about space in Africa? Many people would say that we have a number of issues. We have poverty, we've got drought, we've got a number of issues in Africa, but we're talking about space. We need to change that narrative of looking at space as an elitist area of work. However, we are seeing that many countries in Africa are increasingly being involved in space activities, not just for elitist operations for going to the moon and Mars, but for socio-economic development. There are specific key applications that the good had before me, that we use space and Kasibande, we use space for communication. Your Google Maps, we use space for navigation. Our financial networks are using, if you go to the ATM, you are using a satellite information. You can also use satellite information to actually do better with your agricultural applications. You can do precision agriculture from the space data. We see weather forecasting coming from space. We're seeing a lot of information in terms of our natural disasters, natural, be it artificial and otherwise, that we experience. Space assists us to get ready for those natural disasters. So there's quite a key applications that are important for us to really mind about space. Many applications that assist our government to be able to intervene on various issues that we are experiencing in our countries. You can go to the next slide, Nelly. Yes, then now we talk about the Manfred Lux, which is, I think, the core from my talk today. The Manfred Lux Space Law Moot Court is actually governed by the International Institute of Space Law. There are a number of institutions. I think David's institution, Leiden Institution, is part of IISL. So this competition is actually held in 5 regions of the world: North America, Europe, Asia, and Africa. I think we are one of the regions that participated in this quite recently, from 2011. However, this was established in 1992. So the growth has been seen in the 5 regions that I have mentioned. More than 60 teams participate in this competition on a yearly basis, because it's a yearly competition. This competition ensures that the registered teams get exclusive online access to papers of the ISL colloquium proceedings from 2005. So this competition again is promoting the knowledge of space law among students. We are aware that space law is not a course, as the good doctor has mentioned, is not offered in many universities in Africa and in other cases throughout the world. But I think it's something that we need to work on to ensure that we have some optional courses of space law at undergrad as well as overgrad, because as we have mentioned, space is here now. There's no way that it's going away. We are seeing tremendous strides from many countries, from billionaires, from the states that wants to operate space activities, wants to launch satellites into space, wants to use the data coming from those satellites. So Africa needs to gear itself to also be part of space activities. And as Kasibande mentioned, that if you put a human being into any area of work, you need to have legislation, policy, and regulating that area of work. So the moot court finals, they are held in conjunction with the IAC every year. Now I will bring the space law moot court to Africa, because we are in an African Federation webinar. I will mention to you that Africa Round was established in 2011, I've mentioned, during the IAC International Astronautical Congress, which was held for the first time in Africa here. So we had our very, very, very first round then. After that, we have seen 3 countries so far. I think Kenya, if I'm correct, Nigeria and South Africa hosting the Africa round. It's actually important. I'm glad David mentioned that Uganda will host. I'm glad that we can also look into how we rotate the hosting of the competition, because I think it's much better for all of us to participate actively. It's also much better to host the competition, because by hosting a competition as a country, you can actually bring a lot of attention, a lot of awareness to both government and private sector and the students at large, that there is this competition that is called a space law moot court, and everybody can get some excitement and interest in that regard. So we are seeing that the program is building and strengthening the continent's capacity in space law or space regulations. It enables the countries to develop pertinent skills for developing their space legislation, policy for individual states. The good doctor has mentioned that those treaties or any soft laws would need to be domesticated by each country, which is what we've been trying to do here in South Africa. We're trying to finalize now a review an update of the Space Affairs Act of 1993, because we've realized that that act has been very much, I would say, outdated and dormant, and not actually meeting the realities of today, the developments of today. So this competition or the space regulations also help us to monitor and enforce policies I've mentioned above. Why do we want to ensure the policies are enforced? Because we want to ensure peaceful and orderly operations. Most countries in Africa and throughout the world are part of a United Nations committee called the UN COPUS, United Nations Committee on Peaceful Uses of Outer Space. So we are gathering there in Vienna every year, and we are promoting that we use space for peaceful purposes for all the applications that I have mentioned before, and not for military purposes as such. So having a regulatory framework also create an enabling and a supportive environment for the thriving industry. I see the doctor is coming from industry. So as the department, we've been hosting this this Africa Round is for some few years, and other countries have been assisting. And today I will also call upon other countries to assist in hosting the Africa Round competition. I would also want to call upon other countries to look into country coordination, because that is quite important. As we see that, you can go to the next slide, Nelly. I just want to emphasize this point of coordination. As we see that we are growing in interest and size from different countries, with many universities wanting to be involved, especially in specific countries like in Nigeria, it's important that we can have a domestic coordination, and that domestic coordination can play a role that picks up the best group of students or team that will participate in the Africa Round. So as I'm still talking about the competition, it's important, and it's a unique vehicle and platform to expose students. We have students here today, academics, legal professionals, space community, to legal debates on matters of international space law. It's providing a lot of awareness. I've been talking about that, and requires students to study and research this field, yet having a great potential. I think we are agreeing that this field has a great potential. The previous speakers have spoken to the fact that international space law is based on the 5 United Nations treaties that form the global space governance. Just to mention that because of the participation of various countries, Africa has been at the finals with a Nigerian team from Calabar University representing Africa in 2019 in Washington, DC, and the University of Pretoria represented and won in 2018. So I would like now to share the process quickly, such that all those who have interest can know what is happening, how do you get involved, and how do you participate. The process starts with a notice that is issued every November or December of every year to invite teams to register for participation in the ensuing year. The notice includes the entire schedule of timeframes and events, including the registration form. You start by registering through a form that will be attached to the notice. Then after that, you will now submit the memorials. You work on your memorials and submit the memorials, because there is a case that is issued every year that the students require to work on. The memorials, I think the law students are aware that they will require that you have an applicant and a respondent that is arguing the case in those two areas. And then thereafter, after the memorials, then we host the actual competition, which is usually hosted during May or June of each year. Students are allowed to participate in the competition only once. However, the students can participate as coaches, such as David has done before, and I think Nelly is doing coaching since she was part of the student participants. So as I've mentioned, we are striving to encourage all countries to coordinate their domestic participation, and NASDRA has agreed to take the role of the coordination in Nigeria. In 2020 and 2021, the competition was hosted virtually due to the pandemic. The winning team represent Africa region in the world finals. The world finals are held across the world during the International Astronautical Congress. I just wanted to pick on this one, though it's not a Manfred Lux competition, but it's also another great intervention for awareness, the World Space Week. The World Space Week is celebrated worldwide during the first week of October. This week also assists the countries, the various institutions to ensure that there is awareness. It provides advocacy, and it's important that we can also take this World Space Week very much important to undertake outreach and awareness programs also to the communities out there who are not aware what is space all about, why are we talking about space. So we normally bring in experts in space science, astronomy, space engineering, space operations, and space law to share their professional and personal journeys with the students here in South Africa. I just felt that let me touch on this and share with you such that you may, if you haven't started, you may also think of as one of the events or programs that actually are good for awareness for the students and the community. I think that is all. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Those are my email addresses. I would be happy that we can chat after this, because we would be going on to set up the team for 2022, hopefully hosted by Uganda. Thank you very much.
Hopefully. Thank you so much,
David.
You know, Kasibate is leaving for his A-level. I don't know how he is organizing the competition from Netherlands.
From Netherlands, eh?
Thank you so much.
Where there is a will, there is a way. Where there is a will, there is a way. I don't even know why you guys are doubting, but we are going to pull off the best Manfred Lux we've ever seen. I'm telling you, wait for it.
I like that approach and stamina. Go on,
Yes.
go on.
We are going to be your guest. Thank you so much, Ms. Majaja. That was a really amazing presentation. You covered the entire field on the Manfred Lux. We are very grateful, and I'm really sorry about your health. I'm really excited that you could still make it. I'm sure and everybody has learned. So we had some interest on the WhatsApp group for those that might be interested in the Mafelac Space Law competition. Don't feel to reach out to me or Kasibante, or reach out to Ms. Majaja directly, and we'll keep all of you updated with the progress for the 2022 rounds. We don't want it to just be Nigeria, and it's usually Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, Uganda. Recently, some countries have been joining, like Ethiopia, but we need more countries. We need Botswana, we need more countries, we need Togo, we need more countries to join in. So thank you so much again, Ms. Majaja. We are right on time, 11:30 a.m.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh,
we need our neighbors. We need our neighbors here. Botswana, I hear Botswana is here.
Okay.
We need them. We need them on the competition. Zimbabwe participated last year. We're so happy for that. But we need many. We need a broader representation from the continent. It's not a South African and a Nigerian and a Ugandan thing.
Yes, absolutely. So please, I'm encouraging everybody, even Nigerian students that are here, I'm also encouraging you. We have to keep the flag going, and we have to win the World Finals again. We've not won the World Finals in 2018. I'm sure Ms. Majaja will be delighted if an African team gets to win the World Finals. We came close, but we didn't win. So I really encourage everybody, please, Mafelac 2022 should be the best we have ever seen. So as a way of concluding remarks, on behalf of Space Hubs Africa, the Federation of African Law Students and International Law Students Association, University of Nnamdi Azikiwe University chapter, I'd like to appreciate our panelists, Dr. Sampson, Ms. Majaja, and our very enthusiastic David Kasibante. Sir, thank you so much for making out the time this Saturday morning to speak to us about space law and all the incredible opportunities in the sector. And of course, for our attendees who could stay to the end, we are very excited that you could do so. Thanks for your patience. We would encourage you to, after the webinar, it's not just about listening and zooming off. We need more hands, we need more people in the sector. I'll be dropping on the link on WhatsApp. I'll be sending more details about Space Hubs Africa, what we do, how you can get involved. Ms. Majaja mentioned the World Space Week. I'll send updates on the World Space Week, how you can get involved in the activities organized by Learn Space Foundation, Space for Tomorrow, SGAC, MBA, and I would just like to carry everybody along. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. So thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy your Saturday to the fullest. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, good. David.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.